there, welcome to another edition of Yoga with Anne. Thank you so much for joining me. Today our focus is going to be on the trapezius muscles and the latissimus dorsi muscles, though it'll be a full, well-rounded practice. I had someone recently ask me about poses to help stretch those muscles in the body because those parts in her body are weak. So for most of us, the muscles are either going to be weak or they're going to be tight. So today the focus will be to help with both. Wherever you are, it doesn't matter. So we'll help to stretch, we'll help to strengthen, we'll help to loosen, we'll help to lengthen. It'll be a good, well-rounded practice. So to give you an idea of the muscles we're talking about, I have some pictures for you. So on this side, we have the latissimus dorsi muscle, and it's the broadest muscle in the back. And you can imagine it on its opposite side as well. And then on this side is the trapezius muscle. You can see it's kind of a triangular muscle, and it's the largest muscle in the upper body. As always, make sure that you honor your body, modify, come out of a pose. If it doesn't feel okay, you do what's best for you. I do give lots of modifications, but there may be something that you know that's better for you, and I love to hear about it. You're welcome to let me know. The more I learn, the better teacher I am. A reminder about props. So today, if you have two blocks, have two blocks. If you only have one, that'll work. And if you don't have any, we can work around it. A yoga strap will be really helpful today. If you don't have an actual yoga strap, a belt from a bathrobe, a necktie can work. And also, this is something that we can work around today. And then everyone has a blanket, a beach towel, a bath towel to work. You just need something that folds and rolls easily for your yoga practice. So always good to have that as well. I'm going to move back and we will get started. So typically in my classes, we start in constructive rest, lying on your back with your knees bent and the soles of your feet connecting with the mat. If you'd prefer to stay seated today, you're welcome to stay seated. Make sure you stay hydrated. So I'm going to stay seated today, but you're welcome to lie down. If that's what you need right now, then you honor that, you pay attention to that. If you are seated, make sure that you're able to sit well. You're comfortable, you don't have to sit cross-legged. You can sit any way that's comfortable for you. I am sitting on my folded blanket. That allows me to sit tall and not sink in and bring those shoulders forward like we typically do. So if those muscles are tight or they're weak, that can happen, and our sitting culture also encourages that. So take a moment here, wherever you are, whether lying down or seated, close your eyes or soften your gaze. And start to feel the movement of your breath in your body. So we don't want to alter it in any way, but if you feel like a couple of rounds of breath that are bigger, fuller, deeper, you're welcome to do that. So you can think about your diaphragm making this full movement of breath in your belly, in your ribs, in your chest. And then as you release, you feel that all contract and let go and press the air out. Sometimes letting out a sigh can be helpful. You can feel your shoulders moving away from your ears. Next time you inhale, make it longer and smoother, slow. And as you exhale, let out a gentle sigh. And open your eyes. So whether you're lying down or seated, start to make a little bit of movement, fingers and toes. You can stretch, you can twist. If you twist, just make sure it's not the biggest twist ever. It's early in our practice, so we're just bringing movement into your body. Maybe you turn your head and neck side to side. If you're lying down, you can hug your knees into your chest. And then if you are lying down, make your way up to seated. And from here, so you'll be seated, so you could start in a cross-legged position just for a moment. And then you're going to step your feet onto your mat and have your hands behind you. And we're just going to do a little bit of windshield wipering here, moving your knees from side to side. So you want to move to your breath. So when you inhale, your knees come up. When you exhale, they move to one side. And you could be small with your movement. Sometimes it feels good to pick that hip up that you're lifting away from. Just be mindful how that feels in your shoulders, in your arms. Do one more round. And then come back to a comfortable seat. I'm going to show you something in my body, so just sit well, sit comfortable. I'm going to turn to the side so that you can see my shoulders, my upper back, some of the things that we're going to be working on today. So in my weekly classes, we've been talking a lot about this part of the body. So if I just sit how I normally sit, it's like this. So I'm bringing my pelvis under my body, my shoulders are coming forward, my chest is coming concave. It's hard to breathe, it hurts my back, it's my natural posture. And so we're going to think about this upper part of the body. So the very top of your scapula is called the spine of your scapula, and there's actually a little ridge there. So you're going to imagine that you move your scapula back. And then you're going to think about your upper arm bones, your humerus bone, and you're also going to move that back. So it's just a slight movement. It's not over-exaggeration. And then you're going to think about the lower tips of your shoulder blades, and you're going to bring them down your back and in, so like toward your chest. And then that helps to open your chest. So I can have all of this going on and still have my pelvis tucked under, because that's pretty normal for me, but I'm still open here. It's easier to breathe, it's less intense on my body, and then if this is happening, if this part is open and wide, then it helps to remind me to adjust here, to keep my low back safe, to keep my belly safe. But that's a typical place for me, and so we're gonna think about that as we move through our poses today. So come to a seated position on your blanket with the soles of your feet together and your knees out to the side in Baddha Konasana. You can always adjust your feet and move them forward or farther away. If you do have blocks or some other prop and your knees are really bothersome, you can prop your knees up and support them. Sitting on something is helpful. This is a pose that's really easy to hunch back. So that's also why you can move your feet, your legs. Be mindful of that. Firmly press your heels together and then hold on to wherever is appropriate. And we're going to make that movement. So don't hold on too tight. You're going to move the spine of your scapula back, upper arm bones, lower tips of your shoulder blades down and in. Now you're more open. And then from here, we're going to come into a forward fold. So you won't go as forward as you normally do, because I want you to maintain that as much as you can. So hinge at your hip creases. Keep your spine long. Make sure your chin doesn't jut up or fall down. It stays level. You come forward. Your hands can stay on your feet, on your legs. Perhaps they come onto your mat or the floor. So keeping that opening, press your hands into the mat, almost like you're going to pull your hands back, but they're not going to move. And your chest would come through your arms, kind of like you're scooching. Keep that length. Keep your breath flowing. Slowly come back up. Let's give those hips a break. Do a little windshield wipering here, just a few times to each side. And it doesn't have to be to your breath, it can be. All right, we'll come back to those Baddha Konasana feet. So anytime you need to give yourself a break, these inner hips, it can be intense, you do that. Sitting nice and tall again. So this time, you can hold on to wherever you'd like. You're gonna tilt your right ear to your right shoulder. So keeping your shoulders back. And check in, this may be a lot for the stretch in the left side of your neck. If you feel like you've got a little bit more accessibility to add to the stretch, you'll reach your left arm up, not higher than shoulder height, palm facing down toward the mat, fingers active. Check in, this changes it, it adds to it. If you have space, you're gonna bring your right arm and drape it over the side of your head. So you're not pulling, and if that's too much, you could just place your hand on your head. So it's just the weight of your arm. You can always come out of one, of two, of all three. If your arm's over your head, you'll lift it up, bring both of your arms down, bring your head back up. Maybe do a little bobble. Let's go to the second side, let's check in with our shoulders first though. Moving them back, shoulder blades down and in, and then tilt your left ear to your left shoulder. And check in here, this is a different side for me. I'm mirroring you, but this is my tighter side. lift my arm up, or no, I'm good right here. Have your palm face down toward the mat. Notice how that changes things. Notice your breath. And then perhaps your other arm drapes over your head, just putting a little weight here to help with the stretch, and check in if it's too much. Lift the arm off, bring your other arm down, perhaps even come out of the neck stretch. You release your arm on your head, both arms will come down, head comes up, do a little bobble here. And then let's bring our hands on the outside of the knees and close them like a book. And this time extend them out long, arms behind you. And you can do windshield wipering here. You can wiggle around to help loosen up those inner hip muscles. All right, come on to all fours in a tabletop. Some of you are gonna want padding. You can put that in the middle of your mat. That's not typically something that I need, so I'm not gonna use it. But some days I do need it. If my knees are feeling sensitive. Coming on to all fours. So you start with your wrists under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. And then you check in. A lot of us have wrist issues, and this might not be a good spot to be. So you can move your hands forward. You could widen your hands, or a little bit of both. And if neither is okay, you can come onto your forearms, elbows under your shoulders. If you have two blocks, forearms can come onto your blocks, elbows under your shoulders, and hands active. So you're not just hanging out here. It's as active if you were in a regular tabletop. So modified, we still take care of our bodies. Spread your fingers wide wherever you are. We're going to move through our cat and our cow. So when you exhale, you're going to bring your tailbone under the body. You're going to tuck. You're going to round. When you inhale, you go the opposite way, lifting your tailbone up, opening your chest, slight lift of your head and neck. And go back and forth to your own breath a few more times. This is a great pose to stretch both of those muscles. So really move with intention. Let the breath guide you. Finish the round you're in and do one more round. Once you're complete, come back to neutral. If you're still moving, no worries. Then from here, let's step our hands one handprint forward. Gonna set up for downward facing dog. If downward dog's not okay, you can stay here. You can stay in your tabletop. You can come to a child's pose or some other option. You also have the option to walk your hands more forward, shift your hips back into a puppy pose. Spread your fingers wide. Curl your toes under, lift your knees up off the mat. You're gonna shift your butt, hip, and thighs away from your hands. So you're bringing your body into a nice long inverted V. Your feet are about hip distance apart. You're lifting your sit bones up toward the ceiling, moving your thighs away from your hands. Your neck is nice and long, so your ears are between your upper arms. I'm looking at my feet. If I look at my knees, I drop my head. If I look in the middle of my mat, I'm holding my head up. So find that good spot for your neck to be easy and long. Your heels can touch or not, don't force them, but you are moving your heels down toward the mat. For many of us, our heels will not touch. This is not important. Lengthen your spine, active arms. All right, we're gonna switch to Uttanasana, standing forward fold. You could walk your hands to your feet to your hands, or a combination of the two. I like to do a little bit of both. Once you're here, you want to maintain a long spine. If you cannot easily reach the floor, you've got to round to get there. Bring your hands higher up on your body. They can even be at your hips in a half fold where your spine is parallel to the floor. So be in this best spot for you. You can check out. You also have the option to bend your knees, place your forearms on your thighs, active hands here. So this helps to release if there's too much happening in the back. It's not as intense and you still got length in your spine. It's a safe place to be. Wherever you are, bring your hands to your hips. You're going to come into that half fold for a moment there. And then as you inhale, you'll come on up to standing into Tadasana, mountain pose. I'm going to move back just so that you can see me. You stay on your mat, but if you need to adjust, then you adjust. And you come into your mountain pose, Tadasana. So start with your feet, feeling the connection of all four corners of your feet with the mat. And then you're going to do that shoulder movement. So spine of scapula back, upper arms back, lower tips of shoulder blades down and in. And just notice how that feels. And then here in our Tadasana, we're going to turn our palms forward. This is anatomical Tadasana, not my favorite place to be, but guess what? Because it helps me to be open and it doesn't feel natural to my body. So if you need that little extra boost, that can help. I feel a little extra opening when I have my hands, my palms facing forward. All right, I'm just going to step a tiny bit forward so I have clearance. We are going to lift our arms up, so check in, that you have space to do that. If you absolutely don't have space, you can reach forward and then up. So we're going to reach, we're going to be active. Inhale up, and I'm just reaching up as high as is appropriate for me. And when you exhale, you reach back down, so you stay active. If that's too much, you can come more into a half, a big V. So you decide. Whatever's going on with your shoulders or anything else, you honor that. One more time. Inhale up and exhale down. Then from here, you're going to bring your right arm up. So it could be forward or out to the side. So inhale it up, keep your left arm down. We want to have the sensation of reaching, so we're not like over lifting, but this nice long right side. And then we're going to hinge over to the left to come into a side stretch. Your bottom arm can stay here at its side. You can come with your hand at your hip. Or if there's something else that would feel better, you're welcome to do that. When you inhale, bring your arm back up and exhale down. Nice. And then let's bring the other arm up. Inhale, reaching, so nice long lift. So you just feel really tall and long from your heel all the way through your fingertips. And then we'll start to hinge. So it is a little bit of a side bend, but we don't want to crunch. This side's really long. We still want to have a lift on this right side. Right arm, decide where it's going to be. It might feel more supportive to have your hand at your hip. And then the next time you inhale, come back up. Exhale, arm down. So I'm going to come down to my knees because I want you to be able to see what my arms are doing. But I want you to stay standing because I want you to feel that sensation with your feet, have the opening in your upper body. So I'll probably turn a couple of ways just so you can see me better. So let's inhale. I'll come here first. Let's inhale the right arm up. You're going to reach through your fingertips, so palm facing forward. And then with your other hand, you're going to help, and you're going to turn in your shoulder socket so that your palm faces away. So it's not just your palm turning, it's your whole arm turning. And then you're going to bend your elbow. And I'm going to turn. Now I'm mirroring you, so it's the opposite side. So your hand will touch wherever it does. For some of you, it might be higher, so just let it be where it is. Your other arm is going to support here. So think about your armpit getting really narrow, your elbow reaching up toward the ceiling and then back. Your hand can stay here, you could be up here. You've probably done this stretch in certain exercise classes, or the arm can come back down by your side. So you're still standing. Inhale tall, and as you exhale, you're going to hinge over to the left, coming into a side stretch again. You can always adjust this arm if this is too much. You can always come out. This can be pretty intense. Make sure your breath is still flowing. Next time you inhale, come back up. Exhale, give it a shake and release. Awesome. I'm going to stay down on my knees so that you can see me, and I'll rotate around. You stay standing, press through your feet, maybe make that adjustment in the upper body. And then let's inhale the left arm up, palm facing forward. As you exhale, help to turn to face that palm away. Whole arm turns, and then you bend your elbow and keep your breath flowing. And then from here, I want to narrow my armpit, so I'm going to help lift my elbow up and away. Adjust your elbow out to the side if that's best. And you also don't want your arm pressing your head forward, so make sure that it's clear of that. Your other arm can be by your side. It can help, it can stay. And then we're gonna inhale tall, and as you exhale, hinge over to the left. Excuse me, to the right in your side stretch. You're really feeling that length up your Latissimus Dorsi, your Trapezius, out through your elbow. Next time you inhale, come up. Exhale, release. Give it a good shake. Awesome. All right, you're going to make your way back into a downward facing dog. So if there's a way you like to come into it, for some of my students, coming to a tabletop is more appropriate and stepping hands forward, curling toes under, lifting. For some of you, you may want to come from a forward fold. So you hinge, you gather that length, you step your hands forward, you walk your feet back. So you just come into it the best way for you. Make sure you're spreading your fingers wide, you're lifting your hips up, you're moving your thighs back. You're welcome to stay here. You're welcome to come down onto your knees or your forearms. So we're going to come into a plank pose. So as you come forward, you make sure that your shoulders are right above your wrists or your elbows. Your shoulder blades are spread wide. Your neck is long. There's no sag in the belly. You're really lifting. Imagine you bring your tailbone toward your heels. And then bring your knees down to your mat and come onto your forearms. We're going to set up for dolphin pose, which is forearm dog. So this can be a good alternative if your wrists are bothering you, you want to do something different. It is more work in the shoulders, so keep that in mind. So the way we set up is we wrap our hands around our biceps. And no wimpy wrapping. A lot of times I see people do this. So if you do that, your elbows are too far out. We want to make sure that the elbows are right under the shoulders. So if you wrap your hands around your biceps, that sets you up to be in good alignment, bones stacked to stay safe. So we come there from our tabletop, and then once you have a good place for your elbows, you bring your forearms back down to the mat. You can have your fingers spread like you do in down dog or interlace your fingers. That's my personal preference, entirely up to you. So if you don't want to come into the full dolphin, you don't have to. Let's all press our forearms into the mat. You feel your chest open, your shoulder blades widen, a lift in your belly. This is plenty here. If you want to do more, curl your toes under, lift your knees up and press away, just like in a dog. I actually have to walk my feet in a little bit, and my knees are pretty bent in this pose, so that I can press away. Your head should be just like it is in downward facing dog, should not be touching the mat. There should be total clearance between the top of your head and your yoga mat. If you need to come down onto your knees, do so. If you have it in you, start to step your feet back to come into a dolphin plank, forearm plank. No sway on that back, lift up, reach your tailbone towards your heels, reach the crown of your head away from your heels, and breathe. Then bring your knees down to your mat, come all the way down onto your belly. Whew. Take a break here. So typically we do a pose called crocodile or makarasana, where you stack your hands. You can rest your forehead, your chin, your cheek. You can wiggle out your hips. You can bend your knees and do windshield wipering here. So depending on how your setup is, you may have to move. So if you move, like my arms are going to touch this wall, but I don't want to just move my upper body. I want to move my whole body. I want it all to be in a line. I also can just scoot myself back, which is what I'm going to do. So I want your arms to be clear of anything so that you can extend them out long. So make sure that your body is safe. You're not making it all wonky just to get your arms in this position. And then if you have props nearby, move them out of the way. Your head can be off of the mat or on the mat. You'll decide in a moment. You're going to have your arms hover. I'm going to be off just so that you can hear me. You're going to hover your arms, keeping your belly lifting up towards your spine. And then you're going to come into cactus arms. So your elbows come to the side. They're bent into goal pose. And then extend out long again in front of you. And cactus arms again. Nice and active. One more time. Reach and hover. And cactus arms. Whew. And then rest again for a moment, wiggling. windshield wipering, or just being still. You might want to stay here. This is a back bend. It's what I call a teeny tiny baby back bend, baby belly back bend. But if you want to do a little more today, bring your hands under your shoulders, elbows close to your sides. So we really want to focus on that movement again. So move the spine of the scapula back, so up toward the ceiling. Upper arm bones back up toward the ceiling. Lower tips of the shoulder blades down, like toward your feet, and then in, like toward your chest. And then when you're ready, peel up into cobra. If you want to come higher, you can. Just make sure your shoulders don't come up to your ears. You can be in a super small cobra, totally fine. Next time you exhale, come on down. You can rest, wiggle, windshield wiper. You can stay here or come into a child's pose. So child's pose, you come back to a tabletop. You can decide how wide your knees are, your big toes touch or come close together. You sit back on your heels, and then you drape your torso over your thighs. If your forehead does not easily reach the mat, use a block, a blanket. You can stack your palms, you can stack fists, but I want you to be able to fully relax. You can also just stay in your crocodile on your belly. So if child's pose is not appropriate for you, come back to a tabletop. If child's pose is okay, stay there. So wherever you are, whether child's or tabletop, extend your arms out long. So if you're in child's, your elbows will come up off the mat, and then you're going to tent your fingers. If you're in a tabletop, you're going to step your hands forward and tent your fingers. And you might be able to shift your hips back a little bit if that's okay. So I want to be really active here in whichever pose you're in. So you're getting a nice stretch. Thinking about the Latissimus Dorsi on the right side, on the left side, the Trapezius on the left side, on the right side. And then come back to relax. So if you're in tabletop, just come back to tabletop. And then from here, we're going to come on up to standing. So if you want to move through a down dog, if you want to move through a forward fold, if you just want to stand up, you're welcome to stand up. I'm just going to quickly move through a downward facing dog, just for a breath here. And then come into my forward fold for a breath here. And then lift up back to Tadasana, mountain pose. All right. So if you have 2 blocks, take them and put them at the top of your mat, highest height. If you have 1 block, so when you're standing at the top of your mat, if you have 1 block, put it where your right foot would go, like on the right side of the foot. Right side of the right foot. If you have no blocks, I'll show you how to do it. And you may have blocks and still not want to use them. So we'll start in Tadasana, mountain pose. So feel the sensation of all 4 corners of your feet, your upper body moving back and open. I like to bring my hands to my hips. You're going to lean a little more weight into your right foot and leg, as you're going to step your left foot back to come into warrior 1. So my toes are well turned in, my heel is on the mat. If your heel will not reach, you might have to shorten, you might have to widen. That could be for other reasons as well, like balance. This definitely is a balance pose. Ooh, I'm falling out. So you want to feel grounded and rooted. You also have the option, if your heel will not press into the mat, you can use your blanket or your towel to press into the mat. So think about that. That's a good option. So we want our back toes well turned in. They're not quite all the way in, so that you can bring your hands on your mid-ribs and turn your upper belly and chest to face in the same direction as your front foot. Your hands can stay at your hips. You can also think about bringing your elbows closer to each other. That's going to help to do that same action, the upper body. Just be mindful of the lift in your belly, the lengthening of your tailbone, especially for someone like me. I've got to be really mindful because my low back is hypermobile and already is pretty open here. So I've got to be really careful not to hyperextend. You can come into cactus arms. You can come into traditional warrior one. Bring your hands to your hips wherever you are. The back foot's going to step back more, so your hips open up toward the long edge of your mat to set up for warrior two. So adjust. Your toes are slightly in, your heels slightly out. So your hips are more open toward the long edge of your mat, though they're still not quite square, so that our knee stays in a good safe spot. I'm just going to move this block so you can see my front foot. So you want to make sure your knee doesn't fall in. So you want to think about the muscles on the bottom of your thigh, helping to open up the rotating, externally rotating. Then you turn your upper belly and chest toward the long edge of your mat. Think about the lower tips of your shoulder blades and reach your arms up to shoulder height. You decide where your gaze goes. Wherever you're comfortable, you can come into cactus arms, hands at hips, hands at shoulders. And then from here, bend your front elbow, turn your palm up. Other hand comes to your hip to start, and hinge at this front hip crease to bring your forearm down to your thigh. This is where you could use your block. On the pinky toe side, a little more challenging. On the big toe side, still challenging, but you've got the press of the arm and the leg. Here, you've got to do the press the other way. It's a lot harder to do. Or you can stay on your forearm. Don't drop in the shoulder, so you press and open. And then think about the movement in those shoulders, especially the bottom one. It wants to come forward. So can we move the spine of the scapula, humerus bone, shoulder blades back. Your top hand can stay here. You can extend up or up and over. So wherever it is, notice what happens here. If you're like, this, it's probably better to keep your hand at your hip or even your hand at your shoulder. You're gonna really press through your feet to lift up. Briefly for a moment, warrior two, arms down, hands at your hips. You're gonna step your back foot forward. Coming back into your Tadasana, I'm just gonna turn the other side so that you can see me as we move to the second side. So coming back to your connection, your lift, your open upper body, hands at your hips, weight into your left foot and leg as you step your right foot back. Warrior one. Toes are well turned in, heel pressing in. This side might be different. You might have to be shorter, wider. You might need to use your blanket as a prop. Turn your upper belly and chest toward that front foot. You can keep your hands at your hips, bring your elbows back. That could be a nice start. And then perhaps cactus, reaching your arms up. You decide. Your arms can be really wide. Like I have a funky shoulder, so sometimes having my arms up on my ears doesn't feel awesome. So you just still want to have that reach. Lift from your belly, press through your feet. If you're really feeling like you're arching in your back, you really want to have that lift and that lengthen to keep your pelvis pretty even. Bring your hands to your hips. We're going to step our back foot back a little bit to open our hips to set up for warrior two. Check on that front knee, upper belly and chest. Strong arms and gaze. Bend your front elbow, turn your palm up, other hand to your hip, hinge. So you want to keep long here. Bring your forearm down, press to help open. So think about your shoulder blades and your upper arm bone back, shoulder blades down and in. And then that's also going to help you to bring these ribs through and forward to open up even more. And then you decide if the arm comes up or up and over. That's just like icing on the cake. Maybe you really like icing. I do not, unless it's cream cheese. All right, let's press through our feet to help lift back up. Warrior two for a moment. Bring your hands to your hips. Your back foot's going to step forward, back into your mountain pose. Awesome. All right, I'm going to take a sip of water. Maybe you need some as well. We're going to come into some balance work. I'm moving back so that you can see me. If you need to be by near a wall, by a wall, near a wall, or a piece of furniture, something that's sturdy to help you with your balance, you're welcome to do that. So again, we want to feel that connection with our feet, the lift in our belly, super open in our upper body. And you're going to lean your weight over to your right foot and leg as you bend your left knee. Maybe you want to keep your toe on the mat. Maybe you want to lift up. We're just standing on one leg here. Lock your gaze with something that's not moving, so don't look at me, just listen to my words. And then we're going to do some arm movement if that's okay. If it's not okay, you can keep your hands at your hips. We're going to reach our arms up. It could be forward and up. So I'm just reaching through my fingertips. My palms are facing toward each other. And then I'm going to reach out to the side. My palms are facing forward. Ooh, falling over. And then cactus arms. So you just bend your arms. You keep your arms out long, reaching through your elbows. And then bring your arms out in front of you. Your palms are facing down toward the floor. You're standing on your right foot. So your right arm is going to come on top. Give yourself a hug. This is modification eagle. You could bring your forearms parallel. Back of palms face, front of palms face, you decide. Lift your elbows up and press away. Keep breathing, keep that lift. Release your arms, release your legs, give it a good shake. Whew, awesome. All right, come back to those good strong feet. You really are on foundation. You press through all four corners, you feel the lift in your belly. You already feel your chest open a little bit, so let's add to that. Reach through the crown of your head. Hands at your hips, lean your weight over to your left foot and leg. Come onto the big toe of your right. Maybe you stay here or pick the foot up off of the mat. If it comes down, you just pick it up again, no big deal. Then we'll do the arm movement on this side. Inhale up, reaching through your fingertips. So reach through that standing leg, lift through the belly, reaching through your arms and fingertips. And then arms out to the side, palms facing forward. Keep that reach as you bend your elbows to come into cactus arms. Whew. And then bring your arms out in front of you, palms facing down. You're standing on your left leg. So this time, I can't remember. Oh no, what's the other one? So you're standing on your left leg. So then the left arm comes on top. Give yourself a hug. If I said that wrong, fix it. You're like, this feels the same. It doesn't feel the same to me, but who knows? Lift up and press away. You can be in eagle arms. I think I might have said the wrong side. Now I can't tell. I'm sorry. You'll know one side feels different than the other, typically. And for me it does. I just can't. My brain's not working. All right, release the arms. Release the legs, give it a shake. If you felt like you did the wrong side, you're welcome to do the other side now without the balance. I'm going to take a sip of water. I think most of my watchers know that I live in Tucson, Arizona. And the last I checked, it said it was 108. So it is a warm day. We had the hottest July on record and the fourth driest on record. Exciting. All right, we're going to come down and have a seat. So I'm just moving these out of the way. I'm going to get my blanket, sit on the edge, and extend my legs out long in front of me. So you want to sit tall, movement in that upper body, then inhale your arms up. And then you're going to hinge at your hip creases to reach your hands forward. Wherever you are, so some of you might come more forward. I don't want you to round. So you want to keep that length. And then wherever you are, you bring your hands either down to your legs, to the mat, to your feet. Just don't round to get there. Keep that opening. Keep those shoulders moving back, arm bones back, chest forward and open. Think about your collarbones reaching wide. All right, awesome. Hinge back up, keep your legs active. Bend your right knee, bring your foot to the mat. Make sure your foot's fully on the mat, so if you have to move it out or forward, you do that. We're gonna kind of hug that knee in, inhale tall. On the exhale with your belly button, you're gonna start to turn toward the bent knee. Your left hand's gonna wrap around your knee. Your back hand comes in the mat. I tent my fingers. So I help to lift and turn. Don't overdo it. And the movement starts at the low belly, upper belly, chest, and then shoulders. And then head and neck if you would like. The next time you exhale, come out. Extend, maybe do a little wiggle between the two sides and then activate. And then bend your left knee, bring your foot to your mat. Sit nice and tall, inhale. Exhale, twist. Right arm around that left knee, back hand in the mat to press and lift open into your twist. So even when you're twisting, you want your spine to be long. You want your shoulders to move back. Lower tips of your shoulder blades to move down and in. Next exhale, you'll come out of your twist. Extend your legs out long, do a wiggle, a jiggle. All right, and we are going to do one more pose before we lie down. So earlier, you can come into any seated position you'd like. Earlier, we did the side stretch with our arm. So I call this half cow face. There's a cow face arms, so I guess it's really a fourth cow face. There's cow face arms and legs. But I typically just teach one or the other because they're pretty intense. So we're just going to do the arm part. So I want you to sit however you'd like. And again, this is one that I'm probably going to turn. And I do mirror when I teach. I try to. Sometimes I mess it up like I did in our balance. That happens. I mirror you, so when I turn around, I'm going to be on, it's going to look weird. So just be okay with that. Don't let it confuse you. So for most of us, a strap works. You can do this without a strap, and I'll show you without a strap as well. But if you do have a strap or strap-like item, put it over your right shoulder. And like earlier, we inhaled our arm up, and on the exhale, we turn, so the whole arm turns, whole arm and hand, and then you bend your elbow. And you're going to help again. You want to narrow the armpit, lift your elbow up and away. And remember, you can move your arm out to the side. Make sure it's not pressing into your head. So I'm going to come onto my knees. So I've got this nice lift here, and then the opposite arm is going to reach out, and that palm is going to face away. And then you're going to bend that elbow, and you're going to bring it to the small of your back. And this may be where you stay today. These hands cannot reach, so I use my strap, and I lift up and lift down. You can lift out to the side if you need to, but it's nice and strong here. You can also hold on to your shirt, or you can just have your hands placed. If your fingers touch, you can have your fingers grab each other. I cannot do this on this side, but it will on the other. And then release and give it a shake. All right, and then put the strap over your left shoulder. On this side, I know that my fingers will touch. So inhale your arm up, exhale, turn, bend, keep your breath flowing as you help to narrow the armpit, lift your elbow up and away, and make sure that your spine stays long so you're not doing anything funky to try to get that arm back. You just do your best. And then your other arm reaches out, palm face away, bend your elbow, bring your hand to the small of your back. Perhaps you hold on to your strap, your shirt, maybe your fingers will touch. And it's okay if they don't. Mine barely touched. As you saw, they were super far away from each other on the other side. Let's release. Give it a good shake. Awesome. All right. Seated one more time. Feet out, knees bent, windshield wiper. If you want to do a little more, we really lift up and actually kind of also get into your shoulders, and that could feel really good. We've done a lot of shoulder work today. Just a couple more times. Awesome. So we're going to do one more pose and then Shavasana. So we're going to do a supported bridge pose. You may also want to stay here for your Shavasana. That can be nice, especially because when I do my YouTube videos, we don't do long Shavasana, a minute or two. You can always pause and do longer. So if you don't have a block, books will work, or your blanket. So I'll show setup for both. They're slightly different. The setup's not different, but where you place your prop is a little different. So I'll start with a block. Come to knees bent, constructive rest, feet on your mat. Press your feet into the mat just enough to lift to slide your block under your sacrum. So it's not under my low back. This is under the low back, and I can already tell that doesn't feel awesome. So you want to make sure that your sacrum, your tailbone, that's what's supported by the block. I'm going to remove it so that I can do the blanket. And don't turn your head when you're in supported bridge. Also, it's best not to have anything under your head. If you need some support, like you need some cushion, just have a thin amount of blanket, but we want to keep the neck long and open. All right, same thing, constructive rest. I lift up, I slide my support. This can be also under the low back. It's a little wider, so that's okay. It's not as high up, feels comfortable. You can have your feet out wide and knees together, or knees standing straight up right above your feet. Press your feet into your mat to lift up. Slide your support out of the way. Slowly bring your hips back down. Just take a moment here. You may feel like you have to adjust. My spine feels longer after that pose. And we're going to set up for Shavasana, final relaxation. So if you want to get back in your bridge pose, if you want to stay in it, if you didn't come out, awesome. I like to have support under my head. Since I'm not doing a long Shavasana, I stay in constructive rest. That's better for my back. You can have your knees bent, feet wide, knees together. That can be nice. Just make sure you feel comfortable, you feel supported. Some people would rather be seated, and that's fine as well. As I stated earlier, if you'd like to do a longer Shavasana, you can always pause the video, set the timer on your phone, and then join for the end. So just feeling your breath as it's moving through your body. It's smooth. It's probably more full than it was when we started our practice. But wherever it is, just notice. No judgment, so if it's not all the things I said, it's okay. Sink into your mat. Imagine your body can melt into your mat. Take in a slow, smooth inhale. As you exhale, let out that sigh. Move your fingers, your toes. You want to come into bigger movements, a stretch. Hug your knees in, move your head side to side. If there's something else that sounds really delicious for your body, please do it. Eventually your feet will come back to your mat with your knees bent, and you'll roll over to one side. in the fetal position. And stay here for a breath or two. When you're ready, with the strength of your hands and arms, you're going to press into the mat. Keep your head heavy. Comes up last. Coming back to a seated position. So earlier when we were doing the cow face, I had you sit however you want. So if you're sitting cross-legged, switch the cross of the legs. And if you're not sure which, you likely went to your habitual side. If it causes pain, of course, don't sit that way. And if sitting cross-legged isn't okay, you sit the best way for you. Check in here. If you're like, oh, I'm so tired, I can't do this anymore, then don't do it. But if you've got it in you, one more time, move spine, scapula back, upper arm bones back, shoulder blades down and in. Chin parallel to your floor. Bring your hands together at heart center. You can close your eyes or have your gaze softened. Keep peace in your mind. Keep strength in your body. And keep love in your hearts. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope you have a lovely day. You enjoyed the practice. If you have requests, comment below. You can email me at therealgofitgirl@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter as GoFitGirl and Instagram as TheRealGoFitGirl. Thank you so much for practicing with me and all of your support. And I hope to practice with you again soon. Have a great one.